listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. Jeannie Roller and I are talking about healthcare issues, things that have happened to us, which is why we started this program, this podcast, because we just couldn't believe what the medical community in a lot of aspects was about nowadays. And I don't want to sound like old-fashioned or whatever, but some of the values that were seemingly that seem to be old-fashioned should still stay in place. And one of those that we talk about all the time is about dignity and respect for the patients. And I also want to preface that too for any of the medical people in the healthcare system as well. I mean, it should be respect all the way around, Jeannie. I think we both agree about that. And this story is very disturbing. You brought it to me, which you do so many of these topics that we talk about, because you are really good on different websites and in different areas and stuff where you constantly are interacting with people. And this one is just, to me, is so disturbing. And it talks about a person in the medical community that had a patient, a male patient. So it's a female person in the medical community that had a male patient, and they had gone out to dinner. And, go ahead and explain it. I'm not gonna say all the activities correctly. So you have that article in front of you, and it's just, I don't want to say wow. I want to say wow with 18 thumbs down and go, please tell me that this stuff really isn't happening, and why is it? So go ahead, Jeannie.
Well, this is from Quora on a part that I belong to called Advocating for Change. And the author is Mike X, and I talked to him, and he knows I'm going to read this.
Okay.
And I'm going to read it pretty much word for word as he wrote it, because it's very powerful. So here it goes. I keep reading how female nurses don't notice naked men and think it's not an issue to expose them. The 20% of men who prefer female staff for private exposed matters are extremely vocal on this point and reiterate the mantra that these females don't notice, don't care, see blank body parts all day, and it means nothing to them. As a result, it should mean nothing to the men who are patients as well. It's funny because these same men would never tell their female relatives to just expose themselves to any man in healthcare, especially if they are uncomfortable with the exposure. Mm-hmm. These guys either have a sexual kink or think it's being macho to suck it up. I personally think it's cowardly to suck it up and not defend yourself and preserve your dignity and domain over your own body and healthcare. Others claim that female nurses become void of sexual feelings and interest. I have dated many female medical staff, and I can assure everyone that this is not true. So here's the story.
Okay.
In 2023, I started dating a woman who was a nurse. After about 4 weeks, I wanted to introduce her to my best friend and his wife. I'd known him all my life, and his wife is an amazing woman. I was there when they first met. We made plans to have dinner. Me and my new girlfriend were waiting at the table in the restaurant when they came in. As soon as my buddy and his wife walked up to us, I saw the look on his face. It lasted a split second. He obviously recognized her. Introductions were made and they sat down. We started talking. It very soon came out that she was a nurse in his primary care doctor's office. I didn't think anything of it after that, but now I have my explanation for the look of recognition I saw on his face. We had a great dinner, but I could tell that he was a little off. He was a little more quiet than he normally is. After the main course, as we waited for dessert, the girls got up to use the bathroom. As soon as they left the table, my buddy said, "Oh my God, she has seen me naked." I didn't know what he was talking about. I already knew about the 6 months before he and his wife were hiking, and the next day he discovered he had had several ticks on him, and I knew he went to the doctor. He found the tick on the back of his neck, the inside of his leg up high, and 3 around his groin. He now explained that when he got to the doctor's office, he was informed that the doctor had to leave, and they told him that the nurse practitioner would see him. He had apparently seen the nurse practitioner for small things like a sore throat, but nothing intimate. He wasn't thrilled, but he wanted to be checked out and get tested for Lyme, so he stayed. When she came into the room, he explained what had happened with the ticks, and she told him to get undressed, and she stepped out, and when she returned, she came in with a nurse. He was in his underwear at this time. The nurse was my new girlfriend. He said, "What's going on?" And the nurse practitioner said, "Oh, she's just here as a chaperone." He asked, "Why do you need a chaperone? Are you concerned I'm going to attack you? Or should I be concerned that you're going to attack me?" He said they laughed and he was told to take his underwear off, which he did while they were in the room. The NP started looking in his hair on the top of his head and worked all the way down his body looking for ticks, marks, or rash. Then they had him turn around and look at the back to include spreading his behind open for them to look in there. He said it was humiliating in general, but worse with another woman just standing there watching, not saying a word, especially when the NP was moving his you-know-what around looking close up. He wondered the entire time why he had to be naked the entire time. While she was looking at his hair and ears, he could have been covered. Now, this is a guy who had once got to a nude beach with his wife and didn't think anything of it, but he said it was very different when someone's undressed.
Right.
While he was just standing there on display, being stared at in such a state. He was mortified. Anyway, we didn't get a chance to finish because the girls came back to the table. After they came back, I realized now his wife was kind of quiet, and right after dessert they left, she said she wasn't feeling well. Me and my girlfriend had a wonderful night, but when I got home, I called my buddy to make sure his wife was okay. He told me she was actually feeling fine, but she was really ticked off because he was annoyed too. I asked what happened. He told me when the girls went to the ladies' room, my new girlfriend said to his wife, "Well, you're a very lucky woman." "Why?" she asked. Reply, "Oh, I've seen your husband naked and he's got a great body and you obviously have a lot to work with." She then said that he made the nurse practitioner her day. We still talk about him. Most guys who come in don't measure up to the hot tick guy. My buddy's wife wasn't very happy and said, "Well, that's not nice to say." Her reply was, "Oh, it was just us girls." He was already embarrassed, but after his wife told him the story and her being angry, he got more upset. I apologized for the bad night. He took it in stride, but I know he wasn't really happy, and he certainly didn't blame me. The next day, I called her and asked her why she talked about seeing him naked to his wife. She said, "Oh, it's no big deal. It was just girls' talk." The guys that we don't talk about are the ones that should really worry, because it just means either they're not hot or they're too hot, or they have small body parts. I was shocked. She had not an ounce of remorse or self-awareness that it was completely inappropriate to talk about this woman's husband's body to his wife. He doesn't go to that doctor anymore. Now he goes to mine. I never saw that creepy nurse again.
And so you're talking about the size of his genital parts is what they were talking about.
Right.
That was the discussion.
That I didn't want to say it on air, but yes, it was his genitals.
So that's what the discussion was. So there's a person that's saying that, this actually happened to them. I mean, it's so disturbing. It's beyond comprehension. That
this does happen, Cindy.
It does. It does.
These people don't care.
Yeah, it does happen. It's sickening. I mean, I don't even have. I'm at a loss for words. I get it that people talk about their work. You and I said that before we went on air just a few minutes ago, that people talk about their work amongst their coworkers and stuff like that. But you're right, Jeannie, when you said, I mean, this is the medical community. You're supposed to have dignity and respect across the board, not discuss this kind of thing. I mean, I don't want to say that this is illegal. Certainly not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. We aren't, Jeannie, you and I. But I mean, it's illegal as far as dignity and respect and just general societal norms, if you will. I mean, you don't even do this stuff. Right. It's just horrible. That's horrible.
Well, Cindy, we're told constantly that they don't.
Right.
They don't have sexual feelings.
Right.
And right here is an example where it came up and slammed someone right in their face.
Yeah. I mean, I just and you and I both know that it happened because that's why we started this podcast. The things that happen in your family, things that happen in my family. And so we know it firsthand that it did happen. And when we tried to get anything done about it, we were told that, no, this doesn't happen. But yet we've heard these stories over and over and over again. We've had so many men on this show, too, on this podcast that have talked about this because it's, in the couple of seconds we have left, you want to assume that it's all women, which that's the wrong assumption. It's all of us. It's all of us together,
right.
Men and women that it's happening to, and why these people are not being held to task is beyond comprehension. Anyway, on that sad, sad note, total disrespect for humankind, stay tuned to Evergreen Media Network.